Red-hot embers, like fireflies dancing in the midnight blackness, existing only long enough to be seen, setting the stage for the drama about to unfold in the fire and shadows. Apache fire dancers. You're in a small clearing in the woods, witnessing a ceremony unchanged for hundreds of years. They're a people of tradition and of the land. Oklahoma, a Choctaw word meaning land of the red man. Before others dreamed of this land, Indians knew by heart every stream, every sunset.
And it's very important to remember where you came from, to remember your family, your history, to remember that you come from this earth, that you're going to go back to this earth, and you dance happily while you're on this earth. And then spiritually, don't forget your culture, because we're the same warriors that we were in the past, just in a different time.
Warriors of today, fighting under the flag of their former enemy. This is the Kiowa black legging ceremony, the highest honor that tribe can bestow on a warrior. Today, in a ceremony never before recorded, a young brave will be initiated and will inherit the family's badge of honor, the scalp stick. Here, a battle of a different kind, the clash of two cultures. This Kickapoo Indian speaks no English, yet her anger with the white man will need little translation. It's his wedding day. The gentle sound of his flute drifting across the camp. In an emotional ceremony never before photographed, the spellbinding ritual will unite him with his wife and his past. But all is not well in Indian country. When teepees give way to skyscrapers, problems become apparent.
Slack up, man.
Many Indians are unprepared for city life. Their old ways at odds with the new. Indians have the highest suicide rate in the nation.
You ever been around a bunch of horses and Mustangs? Wild Mustangs in the range? I miss that. I want that. Can you understand that? I want that back. Ah! I want that back.
This is sometimes the anesthetic for their anguish. Paint sniffing, an epidemic among Indians with no effective rehabilitation program in place.
Detox or jail? It's up to you.
This is a journey into the heart of Indian country, to places marked on no map, to meet a people marked by history. Drums have beat in this land in anger, in pride, and in celebration. Oklahoma has more Indians in her population than any state in the nation. And yet, from the red clay of the prairie to the concrete of the city, they often find themselves strangers in their own land. Indian teepees dotted the wind-blown prairies long before city lights outshone the stars. It was more than 100 years ago when Indian tribes found themselves fighting for the land they always thought was theirs. It was a time of broken treaties and broken hearts. Of those who resisted white settlement, Geronimo was perhaps the most feared. He and his Apaches were in the southwestern part of the United States. At one point, the U.S. cavalry sent 5,000 soldiers trying to capture that one man. They were unable to do so. But after more years of fighting to save his land and his tribe, Geronimo was forced to surrender. But it's the image of the warrior that remains burned into the memory of his people. The legends about Geronimo's fierceness are as boundless as the land for which he fought. While fleeing U.S. soldiers, he and his small band of Apaches managed to survive where others might not, digging their roots into crevices and simply holding on. Apaches say Geronimo had mystical abilities. He was a medicine man, and he believed his powers would protect him from the soldiers' bullets. But even his strongest medicine couldn't protect him from empty words on treaties. He wound up here, imprisoned at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, with his entire tribe, with every Apache man, woman, and child. The Apaches were assigned numbers, their Indian names taken from them and replaced with Christian ones. Mildred Imuk was in the prison camp, born a prisoner of war. Year after year, she and the other Apaches were promised their freedom.
And they never kept their promise. So we were held prisoners for 27 and 28 years. Those are the ration tickets for my mother and my father.
Now only rusted memories of a time when her people were herded into a desolate area of land and called the enemy, remembered now in the Fort Sill Museum. The Apaches were finally freed in 1912, but not from their memories.
And we treaded the places where our people have tread. They must have had suffered quite a bit. A lot of things they've had to put up with. And it was very...
There is a new awareness that history has two sides. For Apaches, their chiefs were heroes who died for their survival.
We wouldn't be here today if they weren't strong.
It's said that tears cleanse the soul, but not always.
You can understand the feeling our people have. We try to forget, but we can't. It's there.
Mildred Cleghorn is now in her 80s, the leader of her tribe. Geronimo died at Fort Sill, but his spirit did not. He left a legacy of strength and disdain for the way the Apaches were treated.
When I read the history of our people and find out that we gave up 15 million acres with 174 mines on it, and then we got paid only $1 an acre, you have a feeling. Not a very nice one, but then you do have a feeling.
Most of the former prisoners of war have died. Mildred Cleghorn is one of the few remaining who can tell of history by having been there. The Apaches were called the Savages, yet history also shows the tribe was treated in such an uncivilized manner that half of them, more than 200, died in prison. Mildred Cleghorn is determined that Apaches yet to be born know of the trials and strengths of their ancestors, even when they're gone. Resistance to the white world is far from over. This seemingly fragile hut is a fortress against change and the setting for an incredible story of determination. The gentle crackling sounds of a fire. They greet refugees Suki every morning. She's a Kickapoo Indian. She lives in a quiet clearing about 20 minutes from downtown Oklahoma City. She is, in many respects, a living look at the past. She cooks over an open fire. She speaks no English. She knows the Kickapoo ways by having learned them. She knows history by having lived it.
These white people, they came here thinking they came here first. No, they came here later. Indians were here first.
Kickapoo Indians have resisted white settlement for 300 years. They are fiercely independent, still preferring to remain apart. Even now, their ways are threatened. For decades, Refugia has gathered cattails from a state park. Sewn together, the cattails are used to make her Indian house. But now she's been told she can no longer gather them, that she's trespassing, and it angers her.
The white people, they didn't plant the cattails. God made them. God made everything.
The Indian house is the center of their lives. Inside, a sacred fire burns. The fire is never allowed to go out. Family members constantly tend it. Kickapoos are taught from a young age to respect it. They believe that the wood must be placed in a certain way or evil will come to them.
You have to put the logs very right. And a couple of years later on, if you put the logs wrong, and you might die very bad.
When the fire is burning, strict rules apply. Women having their periods are not allowed in. They're considered unclean. Those who do enter must do so with respect. They believe the fire has a spirit of its own.
Sometimes the fire knows what you're thinking when you're sitting inside. It knows what you're thinking.
Sometimes
they're painful thoughts of the past.
The white people came over from across the oceans. They came over where the Kickapoos were, where we live. They start chasing the Kickapoos down to Mexico. They chased us from Wisconsin. They brought us down here to Oklahoma and chased, some of us went down to Mexico.
Many Kickapoos raise their children in the old way, with a few concessions to the present. A washing machine that drains into a nearby ravine. But they still depend on nature to dry the laundry. Dishes still washed by hand. An old-fashioned way in a world fashioned by convenience. Kickapoos have changed the least of virtually any tribe in America, preferring their way to the white way.
We can't use these white people's homes. That's why we still take care of the way we live.
The way they live is difficult by most standards. Young people see it and must choose whether to follow. Choosing between the old and the new. They live in this nation, but in a much different world. One generation who's lived through days scholars write about, holding the next, whose story has yet to be written. When the rivers ran clear, the voices of many tribes could be heard. Then white settlers came, and Indian children were beaten when they spoke their native tongues.
She raised my skirt up, and here was welts on my back, on my seat, and said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I forgot," and I talk Indian, and we're punished when we do that. I'm not the only one, Mama. Everybody gets it.
And other times, the matron have forced boys to wash their mouth with yellow soap. That's the only kind we had, a big old bar, yellow soap we call it. And wash out that dirty language out of your mouth.
Most Indian languages never made it to the printed page. They were carried only in the libraries of the mind. Parker McKenzie's trying to change that.
I would guess in the next 25 years there won't be a cowboy that could sit down and carry on conversation.
He's trying to put the ancient language on paper so that their words, unlike their smoke signals, won't disappear forever. Indians carried their history in their hearts. White men wrote it into books. What exists on the printed page is often only government records. But for those who look closely, historians find the brittle pages to hold the story of a people trying to survive in two worlds. The problems of yesteryear are the problems of today.
I would think that probably one of the most difficult roles in life to play, if you want to call it that, to be a Native American, trying to retain your cultural heritage but also live in a white society.
Perhaps no one knows that better than this man.
Whatever you want, whatever is in your mind, whatever your prayers will be, the smoke will carry to the Great Spirit.
Would watch a taker, a healer for his Comanche people, blessed with knowledge that didn't come from medical books.
Some of the things I can't explain, but the Great Spirit, He gave me this vision, gave me instructions how to use it.
His powers are revered by Indians, often scoffed at by the outside world.
The view of an Indian medicine man is probably not much greater than the view of a Tarzan movie with a witch doctor. And I can tell you that in fact, these people are there, and they function, they meet a need.
Medical knowledge can be attained in many ways. Dr. Edward Chapapity, a Comanche, graduated from medical school.
And you don't? Where it hurts. Okay, right there.
But he respects the wisdom of traditional healers over some modern views.
I think we sometimes forget that the person is a real person, and I think medicine is now beginning to question itself and begin to come back to that style, and I don't think the Indians ever really left it. The knowledge is there. It's not voodoo or whatever. I mean, it has a basis based on, like I said, hundreds or thousands of years of experience.
Most healers never reveal themselves to the outside world. Their ceremonies and treatments taking place in secret. This purification ceremony uses the smoke from cedar and sage and the prayers of Watchataker. His reputation as a healer brings Indians from thousands of miles away, yet he charges nothing.
That gift was given to you, so don't charge. You start charging people, your powers to heal, your powers to help your people is going to disappear. You're the one that's going to be sick then.
Would You Watchataker's pharmacy is here, Mother Earth providing the medicines for his people's ailments.
See, that's broomweed. This yellow, we use that to get stung or something, like mosquito bites you, rub it there like that. You got a bad cold, your stomach upset, you make tea out of it, and then you drink it, and that's going to get you well. That's sage. They say that wards off evil spirits.
From the meat of this cactus, a salve that takes away swelling.
Some of the things that we use as medicine, it's out of season for them, see.
The knowledge from countless generations, filed in one man's memory. When his lips no longer form the words, they'll be gone. He has no heir.
My part of the gift is going to be lost when I leave. A lot of them don't care about this, see. They get sick, they want to go see some doctor.
He has the knowledge to treat many ailments, but no medicine to cure a dying tradition. But miles away, at a campsite with no paved road leading to it, reason to believe tradition will survive.
There's a beginning and a middle and an end for everything. Whenever everything's in order and together, then it's time.
Vanessa Morgan, at a new time in her life. Her beadwork will adorn the wedding regalia of her son's bride.
By making those things with my hands, then I'm telling everyone that I approve of her.
Today is Gabriel's wedding day, his music filling the camp.
It just comes to you, it just comes from your heart. It just comes through my fingers and through my flute. For a Kiowa man to court a woman, he would play his flute. He'd play through the entire camp.
An ancient ceremony, silenced by the years, now about to be reborn.
Our tradition and customs sets us apart from everyone else. It's what we are. It's what we've been.
The first bride in decades to be married in the old ways.
Indian traditions and spiritual beliefs, are still very strong in my heart. It gives you a better understanding of yourself and your relationship with the spirits and God.
She's about to enter a secret world known only to a few. Inside, her clothing is removed, the sacred rite written nowhere, carried only in the memories of tribal elders. She's redressed in the buckskins of her husband's family. Advice is offered, and prayer.
I thank the Lord and hope she can have a lot of more happy years, her and Gabe.
Dearly beloved, we have come together.
A mother's heartfelt wish for her son, that he find a good mate.
It's important that he have someone who loves him enough and respects him enough to set up camp and to cook for his visitors.
I, Robert Gabriel Lee, take you, Hanky Alice Marie, to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, sickness and in health. This is my solemn vow.
The ways of the past finally captured by modern technology. A lasting record of the old ways, and a guide for those yet to come.
He fanned us with his fan, and by the smoke rising, that was a symbol of our prayers being taken to God.
Little Gabe.
Indian traditions are very special all around.
I'll never forget this.
It shows a kind of strength, and not especially physical strength, but spiritual strength.
On this night, in a camp nestled on the plains, a man and a woman have married their future with their past. One tradition that hasn't changed, the importance of a warrior to his tribe. The legacy of war, seen by warriors honored for their valor. No longer do they defend their families in wars on the Great Plains. Their war paths took them to the forests of Germany and the jungles of Southeast Asia. Bows and arrows were replaced by artillery. Nothing replaces courage.
We present to you, ladies and gentlemen, the Kiowa Black Legion Society.
Fighting now under the flag of their former enemy. This elite group was named because warriors would return from a war party, their legs black from trail dust.
You know, it's a great honor for these young men who belong to the society to try to carry on one of the old traditions of the Kiowas.
Skeeks Russell will be initiated today. His Big Red 1 division took the brunt of Iraqi firepower. His return answered his mother's prayers.
I dance with feeling. I do that with honor, knowing that now I've got a reason for it. Our son has come home.
Just hearing the drum again makes you feel real good. The drum beat itself just makes you feel real powerful. That's why you hear those gentlemen out there, their war hoops and things like that, because they feel the power. They feel unafraid of anything.
As part of the ceremony, this giveaway is held. Russell's family gives away gifts to those in the crowd. In the Indian way, status is achieved by what one gives away, not by what one accumulates.
We did it in his honor. Whomever received this gift, we made happy. That was our whole goal.
Russell comes from a long line of honored warriors. His uncle, Pascal Poolah, the most decorated Indian in history. 42 medals before he died trying to rescue a friend. Medals are the military's way of showing Poolah's accomplishments. This is the Indian way, a scalp stick.
This lance that I have represented my brother. The eagle feathers, those long ones, stands for the battles that he's been in. Then the ones on the top are the ones that have died by his hand.
Death is a part of war and the greatest fear of any mother. Skeeks Russell, though, returned to camp.
They recognize the fact that, well, he's a veteran. He fought for us. He is a warrior.
Oh, dear. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
From the beginning, the survival of the tribe depended on the courage of its warriors and the answered prayers of their mothers. Survival has often been difficult for Indians. Braves used to call the enemy White Eyes. The enemies of this generation carry different names: poverty, unemployment, drug abuse. Half of all Indians are unemployed. Their children, more often than not, never graduate from high school. And so, many leave their families and travel to the city looking for work. For some, what they find is not what they sought.
Who hit you in the head? You're sober? Walk over to my car now, okay?
Often without direction, they end up homeless, wounded mentally and physically. Battered, with wounds that medicine alone can't heal.
We're lost, you know, and there's no sense of going home because it's even worse there. America is the a place to find your dreams, you know, and find your hopes, and when we come here, we don't see that.
Whose wine is this? He just said he don't drink. His eyes are clear. He looks sober. You don't. You look drunk.
His name is Lee. Like countless others, he came to the city with a dream, but was awakened with reality. With few job skills, his address is often here.
Yeah, I'm an alcoholic. I ain't gonna lie to you, but like I said, when I first came here, I didn't drink. But then I started running with the street people, because that's all I knew was the streets.
Get in here.
I'm miserable. I really am miserable because that's sick each day.
If you totally neglect a population of people within an urban area, they'll decay and rot away.
I think as you start looking historically at Indian history, you have to say that we need to start looking at that and see if we haven't been treating them properly, what do we need to do to set it right at this point?
Critics would say they could start here. Indians are often ignored by established help agencies, thinking that the Indians have benefits elsewhere. They do not. They hurt, yet often have nowhere to turn, except to the bottle.
Come on, Kevin. There you go. Give me your arm. I'll help you up.
We have thousands go through the detox center and they're right back out to the streets. There's no services provided for them. Indian people are studied and talked about and studied and talked about and studied and talked about and all this kind of stuff, but nothing ever happens. And that's where we're at today.
You got anything in your pockets?
Slack up, dude.
And so it continues. Brought up in a culture where they're taught not to complain. Lost in a world that whirls around them.
Why are all these white people here? Why are all these white people in my country? Where are my horses? You ever been around a bunch of horses and Mustangs? Wild Mustangs in the range? I miss that. I want that. Can you understand that? I want that back. Ah! I want that back.
I know there's a lot of people on the street who grew up in real good ways, you know, and were taught real good. But for some reason, city life without a purpose tears them apart, you know.
Adam, 17 on subject Jesus House.
Some find their escape here, on a battered concrete wall. Her ticket away, the substance she holds in her hand, gold paint. It's a deadly addiction that plagues a growing number of Indians.
We got here.
There are no effective programs to fight it.
Come on, hun. Detox or jail. It's up to you.
Paint fumes are invisible, but the damage can be seen. Fumes destroy the brain. Paint is cheap and it's easy to use.
Mostly it's always gold. They'll go ahead and they'll get the spray can and they'll spray a good amount into the can and they'll hold it up. Usually they use Coke cans. This is kind of the high of choice in this area.
They get high for one reason.
Escape from reality.
The chronic use of inhalants is older than that of the current cocaine epidemic. But cocaine has taken the front seat because those who were involved were highly visible to the general public.
This baby is not highly visible, but she's been affected by paint.
Wait, baby.
Her mother is an addict who sniffed while pregnant and now fears the baby's been damaged.
Just hope and pray that nothing ever is going to happen to her, you know, because I know, you know, I shouldn't have done that.
Her other daughter, Tasha, loves her new sister. But both are the children of a woman who's been in treatment 18 times with no success.
I know that what I'm doing is suicide, you know, because I'm killing myself slowly.
She, like, whenever she does it, she'll forget where she puts everything. And it makes me wonder, you know, because I don't want her to die.
Most never see the signs of inhalant abuse unless they look carefully. The telltale gold bottle. Empty cans litter stairwells and lives, trashing all they touch. Yet it's a situation ignored by most drug rehabilitation programs.
It is very much of a problem.
Do we have the programs set up now that are adequate to deal with paint sniffing?
No, we don't.
There's this paint can.
This man could tell you that. Edward Jones says his stepmother taught him to sniff as a child.
Coke in here? Paint. Paint? Is it? Why, it's gold. Open your mouth. Show me your teeth. Got gold all over your teeth, man. Why is gold paint better than any other color paint?
Is the fumes of it
are better
than the other kind?
So paint sniffers are really, at this point, almost on their own.
Pretty much so.
Does that seem like somewhat of a tragedy to you?
Yes, it is, because I still think that these people are treatable.
For some Indians, paint puts a golden hue on an otherwise colorless existence. And critics say until adequate rehab programs are in place, lives, even new ones, will be destroyed. If you had one wish in life, what would it be?
To make my mom stop sniffing and just, you know, hope that my sister's okay.
But Indians face other problems as well. Discrimination is one of them. This is Darren Pattyacre. He's a Comanche Indian, a college graduate and fully employed.
Yes, I was calling about your ad in the paper.
He's trying to find out what apartments might be available to him. Driving around, he picks several complexes at random. He asks if a one-bedroom is available. At this complex, he's told there are none. So he asks next for a two-bedroom.
You don't have any two bedrooms either?
Not ready. You have to make a quick move?
Well, yeah, really I do, kind of.
I know I can't do things for you.
Okay, well.
Darren, what's your last name?
Pattyacre.
Pattyacre? What in the world is that?
A jawbreaker.
Pattyacre?
Yeah.
What nationality is it?
It's Indian.
Yeah. I figured that.
Yeah.
Pattyacre, that's cute. Cute. Well, you have a good day.
Okay.
Listen when this man applies minutes later.
It helps.
Yes, ma'am. I'm looking for a one-bedroom apartment.
I have one bedroom that is $330 a month. Select. And it's a redecorated apartment, and it's new carpet, new appliances.
And when would this be available, or?
Now.
Now?
Based upon our investigation, we found discrimination. We found disparity in treatment. The Caucasian person was treated more favorable and was told that an apartment was available. The complaining party was told that there was no apartment available.
It's not something you're expecting, and at the same time when it happens, it's like there's pretty much no way you can explain it away. It's there, and it's something that you have to deal with right then, and it's hard to not pay heed to it.
Officials say this was not an isolated case of discrimination. Patty Aker applied at several apartment complexes with similar results at about half of them.
One would think that by this time people would be beyond that. And it's so hurtful to young people and children to have to go through that. Racism is so dehumanizing. Made for Chief Man Killer. Isn't that nice?
Gifts from admirers for Cherokee Chief Wilma Mankiller. Like the leaders of other tribes, she's faced with solving the problems of her people. She fights most for respect. She bristles at museum officials who plunder ancient Indian burial grounds in the name of history.
I can't think of anything more disrespectful and that's more representative of a kind of a racist attitude than to think that you can just go out and start digging up people's ancestors' bones and at will and doing what you want to with them.
The woman who grew up with no indoor plumbing now holds the reins of a $54 million budget.
Hi, Mr. Miller asked if I'd come by today and just kind of give you a brief update on what's going on at the Cherokee Nation. I'm happy to be able
What's going on is a story of success. Those who watch have seen her bring jobs to her people through tribal-run business. She pushes to have Cherokee children educated.
It gives me a tremendous amount of energy and motivation to think about everything that our ancestors went through to make sure that our communities survived and our people survived.
Survival is what she knows best. She was almost killed in a car accident a decade ago. More recently, she underwent a kidney transplant. Now she uses that same determination to fight for her people.
How could you not feel hopeful when in spite of everything that's happened to us historically, we've survived. And we've survived and are facing the 21st century.
Chief Mankiller inherited her name from an ancestor who was a warrior. She also inherited his courage.
Well, it's good to see you. I'll see you soon. Yeah, bye.
Wilma Mankiller has gained worldwide respect. She and leaders of other tribes face an unknown future with one certainty.
We certainly never give up. We never, ever, ever give up. Hi, how are you? I'm doing fine. How are you?
Prairie grass, gently stroked by the wind, as if bowing in respect to what's about to occur. For many Indians, their strength comes from their spirituality. Tonight, they'll gather for a ceremony that has its birth in fire, a flame built with a purpose by the grandson of a medicine man, built as a signal to the heavens.
You are catching the eye of God. As I build it, and as it sparkles, my assumption and belief is that it does catches up there somewhere. The fire has a lot of power in it.
Billy Evans' horse is preparing for a sweat lodge ceremony.
I don't want to get too big a fire built out here.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. These rocks will be heated for hours until they glow like lava. Later tonight, they'll be placed in the sweat lodge, being constructed just as his grandfather taught him, with gently bent willow branches.
I remember what he said. He said there's got to be 12 of them in there because there's 12 months in the year, see? And the 4 major ones represent the 4 seasons in the year. So everything that has to be done has a purpose, and that's where you learn.
For centuries, this structure has provided the setting for healing ceremonies, purification rites. The top forming the Indian medicine wheel, their symbol for the universe.
And I was just a young man like him, and I sat in there with him. They always tell me, you sit still and you listen. I said, why? He said, someday we're going to be gone and it's going to be your turn. So they're all gone. So I guess it's my turn.
Tarps have replaced the animal hides that used to cover the lodge. From top to bottom, it'll be shrouded until it's airtight.
In the very, very center.
Holding in breathtakingly hot steam that will fill the lodge with mist. Steam that will come when the heated rocks are baptized with water and placed in the pit where the boy sits. Water for the ceremony will come from this natural spring, a reflection of the respect Indians have for Mother Nature. and for her power.
All right.
Tonight's ceremony will cleanse the body and soul.
Well, that's ice cold.
Indians say that mysterious things beyond human capabilities have been known to happen.
You may question yourself and say, well, how is that? I can't tell you that. I can just tell you that it has a deeper meaning than what I'm saying, see, because of that fire in the water and everything that surrounds it, see. So when you combine all them forces together, something's got to happen.
Billy Evans' horse will hold a blessing.
I don't know how he's got it fixed in here.
Just before the sweat begins. He will teach those who have come after him the ways of those who came before.
We didn't bring no shovel in there, did we? I got one.
Embers from the fire below brought into the teepee.
Right here.
They'll be used for the ceremony.
That's good enough. Everything that has to be done has a purpose, and that's where you learn. So when somebody else, like a kid or somebody comes and asks, then you teach them. Go ahead that fire. This is always, you never get wrong when you go do it right. Okay.
Young people are taught always to walk clockwise around the fire and to be respectful. In the language used by his ancestors, Billy Evans' horse summons the spirits. Feathers from the eagle will help deliver his message. His bag containing sacred cedar, gathered from pilgrimages to holy places. The cedar is sprinkled on the embers, its sweet smoke purifying and blessing all those it touches. Each waiting their turn.
Reach in there 4 times like this with all of it.
As the daylight flirts with darkness, the time has come for the sweat. Billy Evans' horse has been charged with conducting the ceremony, but tonight he is a teacher as well. For 2 of the young men, this will be their initiation into the ways of their forefathers.
Okay. Who's all going to go in? I'm ready.
His signal to the spirits now burning at its brightest. Those about to enter the lodge enter a world where extraordinary things are said to have happened.
Now, I've seen people who couldn't walk out of there. I've seen people who couldn't see when they came out of there. I've seen people who couldn't hear come out of there and they heard. So there's more to than what I'm saying, see.
One man remains outside. He is the doorkeeper. The rocks, now flushed with an eerie radiance, are his responsibility. On 4 occasions tonight, he'll take the rocks to those inside the lodge.
Look at that one. Ooh, way high. Keep on pushing. Yeah, right there.
With that done, the flap will be closed, leaving those inside in total darkness. The prayers begin. The spring water is poured on the rock, the sound of purification, filling the lodge with steam.
Once you get in there, and you get the feeling of it, then you know what I'm talking about. Purification. Your mind and your body.
In a sweat lodge, temperatures can reach over 130 degrees. Those inside sometimes hug the ground looking for a reprieve, yet they seldom leave. More than an hour passes. The fire gives up its strength. When the flap finally opens, steam flies into the night, like spirits quivering between 2 worlds. heralding the rebirth of those inside, renewed now in body and soul. There's a basic Indian belief that all things on this earth are connected, and that man is but a single strand in the tapestry of the universe.
I know this thing ain't warm.
All of us, part of a greater whole.
There's a lot of teachings in there, you know, this wind and this earth and everything you see is you. But we don't open our eyes to it, see. This is the way that it is.
Throughout history, Indian dance has been a window into the soul of the culture. It's a moving chronicle of a tribe's victories, its pride, its history, all written in a blur of buckskin and feathers. Entry into the oftentimes mysterious world of the American Indian happens only if they allow it, giving brief glimpses of a culture that survived in the safety of the shadows, away from those who had changed their paths. But much has changed. The red clay of the prairie has been replaced by the concrete of the city, the sound of their drums in many places becoming only faint echoes. Indians find themselves trying to exist in two worlds, trying to move into the future without losing their past, gently leaving their footprints along the way, hoping they won't be forever forgotten from the land that at one time they alone called home. As time passes, the ways of the elders become only memories, fragile recollections. And only the years to come will show whether the culture survived or whether they exist only in the black and white print of history books. But with the coming of each day comes the hope that the Indians will no longer find themselves strangers in their own land. And ironically, it may be wisdom from the past that serves as a key to the future. More than 130 years ago, Chief Seattle foresaw the plight of his people. The words attributed to him then remain undiluted by time.
When the last red man shall have perished from the earth, and his memory among the white men shall have become a myth, these shores will swarm with the invisible dead of my tribe. And when your children's children shall think themselves alone in the fields, or in the silence of the pathless woods, they will not be alone. At night, when the streets of your cities and villages will be silent, and you think them deserted, they will throng with the returning host that once filled and still loved this beautiful land. The white man will never be alone. Let him be just and deal kindly with my people. Even the white man is not exempt from the common destiny. We may be brothers after all. We shall see.